The smoke still rose from the ruins of Seoul, 3 months after the final surrender. Tae-ho walked carefully through the broken streets, keeping his head down and his old military jacket hidden under a dirty coat. The aliens had sensors everywhere. Now, they could spot a former soldier from miles away. Above him, the massive Korthik ships floated like dark clouds. Their hulls were covered in scales that moved and shifted in the sunlight. The reptilian aliens inside those ships had divided Earth into sections. The Korthik took Asia. The bug-like Vex claimed Europe and Africa. The crystal beings called the Zhao had taken the Americas. Tai-ho stopped at a corner and watched a group of humans being loaded into transport trucks. They moved slowly, like people who had given up hope. The war had lasted 3 years. Earth's armies had fought hard, but the aliens were too strong. Their weapons cut through human ships like paper. Their armor could not be broken by human guns. The surrender came on a Tuesday. Every government on Earth signed the papers on the same day. The aliens called it the final peace treaty. Humans called it the end of everything. A Korthik soldier walked past Tae-ho. The alien was 8 feet tall with yellow eyes and teeth like knives. Its scaled skin was green-black, and it carried a weapon that hummed with energy. Tae-ho kept his eyes on the ground till the soldier passed. Getting noticed meant getting taken to the processing centers. No one came back from those places. The same Dr. So-jin sat in her hidden lab beneath the old university. She studied the alien blood samples she had collected during the war. The Korthik bled red like humans, but their blood carried different chemicals. The Vex had green blood that moved like liquid metal. The Zhao did not have blood at all. They had some kind of crystal fluid that glowed in the dark. She had learned many things about the aliens during the war. The Korthik were strong but slow. To heal, the Vex were fast but could not think as individuals. The Zhao were smart but needed special air to breathe. Each species had weaknesses, but humans had never found a way to use them. The war was over now. So Jin kept working anyway. She told herself it was just scientific curiosity, but deep down she hoped the knowledge might matter someday. Captain Min-soo led his resistance cell through the underground tunnels. Beneath Seoul, 23 people followed him, all that remained of his unit. They had been hiding for months, living on scraps and rainwater. The aliens did not bother to search the deep tunnels. They thought all the dangerous humans were already caught or dead. Min-soo was not sure they were wrong. His people were tired and scared. Their weapons were old and mostly broken. They had no contact with other human groups. For all he knew, they were the last free humans on Earth. Still, they kept moving. They gathered information about alien patrols. They rescued humans when they could. They told themselves they were fighting back, but Min-soo knew they were just trying to stay alive one more day. Elder Korthik stood on the command deck of his ship and looked down at the human city below. The conquest of Earth had been easier than expected. The humans had fought bravely, but bravery meant nothing against superior technology and numbers. The other races in the galactic hegemony had been worried about humans. They said humans were unpredictable and dangerous. Korthik had laughed at such fears. Humans were just another primitive species. They were weak, divided, and too emotional to think clearly in battle. Now the humans were properly organized. They worked in the factories the aliens had built. They grew food in the fields the aliens controlled. They lived where the aliens told them to live. It was much better this way. Korthik had conquered 47 worlds for the hegemony. Earth was just another number on his record. Soon he would be promoted and sent to conquer somewhere else. The humans would be someone else's problem to manage. In a small apartment in the ruins of the city, Hyun-woo sat by his window and watched the alien patrols. He had been watching them for 3 months now. Every day, the same routes. every day, the same times. The aliens were very organized and very predictable. Before the war, Hyun Woo had fixed machines in a factory. He was good with his hands and good at understanding how things worked. People said he was quiet and ordinary. They were right. There was nothing special about Hyun Woo, nothing that would make anyone look twice at him. But Hyun Woo had always been good at watching and learning. During the war, he had watched how the aliens moved and fought. He had learned their patterns and their habits. He had studied their weaknesses without even realizing he was doing it. Now, 3 months after the surrender, Hyun Woo was still watching. He saw things other people missed. He noticed when guards changed shifts. He counted how many soldiers were in each patrol. He memorized the schedules of the transport ships that the aliens announced their new plan on the morning news. They called it Final Processing Day. All remaining humans would be moved to permanent settlements. Families would be separated by age and ability. Children would be raised in alien schools. Adults would work until they were too old. Then they would be disposed of. The announcement played on screens throughout the city. Humans gathered in small groups to listen, their faces empty of hope. The aliens had won completely. There was no army left to fight them. No government left to protect the people. No heroes left to save the day. Tae-ho heard the announcement and felt his heart sink. So Jin heard it and closed her eyes in despair. Min-soo heard it and wondered if his resistance cell should just surrender. Elder Korthvik heard it and smiled with satisfaction. But Hyun Woo heard the announcement and stood up from his chair by the window. For 3 months, he had been watching and waiting and learning. Now it was time to act. He walked to his closet and pulled out a small bag he had packed weeks ago. Inside were simple tools and a few pieces of equipment he had built himself. Nothing fancy. Nothing that would make the alien sensors beep. Hyun Woo put on his coat and walked to the door. Outside, the alien patrols continued their routes, just like always. The transport ships followed their schedules, just like always. Everything was organized and predictable, just like always. The aliens thought the war was over. They thought humans were finished. They thought they understood everything there was to know about Earth and its people. They were about to learn how. Wrong they were. Hyun Woo stepped out into the street and began to walk toward the nearest processing center. He moved quietly and carefully, just another human heading to his assigned workstation. No one paid attention to him. No one suspected that anything was about to change. But change was coming. The person they had all overlooked was finally ready to show them what humans could really do. The Korthik facility was supposed to be impossible to enter. It had energy barriers, motion sensors, and guards at every entrance. The walls were made of metal stronger than anything humans had ever created. Even during the war, no human soldier had ever gotten inside one of these buildings. But at 3 in the morning, Hyun Woo walked through the main gate like it was not even there. The security cameras showed him approaching the energy barrier. Then there was a moment where the image seemed to blur, like the camera could not focus properly. When the image cleared, Hyun Woo was on the other side of the barrier, walking calmly toward the building. Inside the security room, the Korthik guards stared at their screens in confusion. One of them rewound the recording and played it again. The same thing happened. The human approached the barrier. The image blurred, and then he was through. The guard tried to sound the alarm, but his clawed finger stopped halfway to the button. Something was wrong with his arm. He looked down and saw that his hand was shaking. He felt cold, which was impossible. Korthik did not feel cold. Behind him, his partner tried to call for backup, but no sound came from his mouth. He pressed the communication device again and again, but it remained silent. Both guards felt a strange fear growing in their hearts. They did not understand what was happening. On the screens, the human continued walking through their building. He passed motion sensors that should have triggered every alarm in the facility. He walked by guard posts where soldiers should have stopped him. But the sensors did not beep, and the guards did not move. One by one, the security cameras went. Dark.G-High was 16 years old and very good at finding things other people had lost or thrown away. She lived in the ruins with her younger brother, searching for food and supplies while avoiding the alien patrols. She had learned to be invisible, to move through the broken city without being seen. That night, she was searching through the wreckage of an old store when she heard footsteps. Heavy footsteps that could only belong to aliens. She pressed herself against a broken wall and held her breath. 3 Vex soldiers came around the corner. They moved on 6 legs each, their metal armor clicking against the concrete. They're bug-like. Heads turned from side to side as they searched for something. In their hands, they carried weapons that could cut a human in half. The Vex had been hunting Ji-Hai for weeks. She had stolen food from one of their supply trucks, and now they wanted to make an example of her. They knew she was in this area. Their sensors had detected her body heat. Ji-Hai was trapped. There was nowhere to run and nowhere to hide. The Vex were between her and the only exit. She closed her eyes and waited for the end. Then she heard one of the Vex soldiers make a sound she had never heard before. It was high and sharp, like metal breaking. She opened her eyes and saw the soldier falling backward. Its weapon clattered to the ground. The other 2 Vex spun around, looking for their attacker. They saw nothing but empty ruins. One of them spoke in their clicking language, calling for backup. The other one moved closer to where its partner had fallen. That was when Ji-Hai saw him. A man stepped out of the shadows behind the second Vex. He moved so smoothly that she almost missed it. His hand touched the alien's neck, and the creature collapsed instantly. The third Vex finally spotted the human and raised its weapon. Energy beam should have cut the man in half. Instead, the man was suddenly somewhere else, standing right next to the alien. He touched the creature's chest, and it fell like its partners. All 3 Vex soldiers lay still on the ground. They were not dead, Ji-Hai realized. They were breathing, but they would not wake up for a long time. The man looked at her through the darkness. He was ordinary-looking, middle-aged, with kind eyes and work clothes. He did not look like someone who could defeat 3 alien soldiers without breaking a sweat. "Are you hurt?" he asked in a quiet voice. Ji-Hai shook her head. She tried to speak, but no words came out. The man smiled. "Good. Go home to your brother. Stay inside for the next few days. Things are going to change soon." Before Ji-Hai could ask what he meant, the man was gone. She blinked and looked around, but there was no sign of him anywhere. Only the 3 unconscious Vex soldiers proved that he had been real. Colonel Dong-Min sat in his prison cell and counted the days until his execution. The aliens had captured him during the final battle for Seoul. They kept him alive because he knew military secrets they wanted to learn. Soon they would get tired of asking questions and just kill him. The cell was small and cold. The walls were made of the same strong metal as the Korthik ships. The door had no handle on the inside. There were no windows and no way to escape. That morning, Dong-Min woke up to find his cell door standing open. In the hallway outside, 2 Korthik guards lay unconscious. Their weapons were gone, but they did not seem to be hurt. On the floor next to Dong-Min's feet was a small piece of paper. Written on it in neat handwriting were the locations of 12 other human prisoners. Below that was a simple message: "The war is not over. Be ready." Dong-Min picked up one of the alien weapons and stepped carefully into the hallway. He had been a soldier for 20 years, but he had never seen anything like this. Who could walk into a maximum security prison and open locked cells without triggering any alarms? He found the other prisoners exactly where the note said they would be. All of their doors were open. All of their guards were unconscious. None of them had any idea what was happening. Together, the 13 humans made their way through the facility. Every guard they encountered was already unconscious. Every security system had been disabled. Every locked door stood open. They reached the exit just as the sun was rising. Outside, a transport truck waited with its engine running. The keys were in the ignition, and there was a map on the seat showing a safe route out of the city. Dong-Min looked around for their mysterious rescuer, but saw no one. Whoever had freed them was already gone, probably helping someone else escape. The colonel had fought in many battles and knew good tactics when he saw them. This was the work of someone who understood war better than any general. Dr. So-Jin received the package at her hidden laboratory 3 days later. There was no return address and no delivery person. She simply found it sitting on her workbench when she arrived that morning. Inside the package were detailed notes about alien biology, not the basic information she had gathered during the war, but deep scientific data that should have been impossible to obtain. Someone had studied the aliens more carefully than the best human scientists. The notes explained how Corphic nervous systems worked and why they could be temporarily shut down, with pressure applied to specific points. They showed the frequency that could disrupt Vex group communication and make the individual bugs confused and helpless. They revealed that gel crystal bodies could be shattered if struck at exactly the right angle. At the bottom of the notes was a simple request. Please share this information with anyone who might need it. The resistance is growing. So Jin read through the notes 3 times. The information was accurate and detailed. Whoever had written it understood alien physiology better than she did. But how was that possible? Who had been able to study living aliens this closely? She thought about the reports she had been hearing. Strange incidents around the city. Alien patrols found unconscious with no sign of what had attacked them. Security. Systems failing at exactly the right moments to allow human escapes. Supply convoys arriving late because their drivers had been mysteriously delayed. Someone was fighting back. Someone was turning the aliens' own strengths against them. And whoever it was, they were just getting started. Captain Minsu's resistance cell found the supplies in an abandoned subway tunnel. Weapons, food, medical equipment, and detailed maps of alien patrol routes. Everything they needed to actually fight instead of just hiding. There was no note explaining where the supplies came from. No signature or identification. Just the materials they desperately needed and information that could save lives. Minsu studied the patrol route maps. They were incredibly detailed and completely accurate. Someone had been watching the aliens very carefully for a long time. Someone who understood their patterns better than they understood themselves. That night, Minsu's cell rescued 47 humans from a transport convoy heading to the processing centers. They used the new weapons and the patrol information to set up a perfect ambush. Not a single alien was killed, but all of them were left unconscious and confused. The rescued humans spoke of a man who had told them to be ready, who had promised. That help was coming. None of them knew his name or where he had come from. He was just someone who appeared when he was needed and disappeared when the job was done. All across the city, similar stories were spreading. The aliens were still in control, but that control was starting to crack. Someone was out there, turning their victory into something much less certain. The resistance was growing, and it had a leader the aliens had never seen coming. High above the city, Elder Korthvik studied the reports from his commanders. Security failures, missing patrols, escaped prisoners, and disrupted supply lines. Each incident was small, but together they painted a worrying picture. The humans were supposed to be broken. They were supposed to be helpless. But something was happening that his advisors could not explain. A call came from the highest levels of the galactic hegemony. Elder Korthvik received it in his private chambers, the message marked with codes that meant absolute secrecy. The voice on the other end belonged to someone who could order the destruction of entire star systems. "There is a problem on Earth," the voice said without introduction. "Something that threatens our control of the sector. You will eliminate it immediately." Korthvik straightened in his chair. "Elder, we have some minor resistance activity, but nothing that cannot be contained." "Minor?" The voice carried disbelief and anger. "Your reports mention security failures, escaped prisoners, and disrupted operations. Our intelligence networks speak of something that should not exist. You call this minor?" The elder felt his scales tighten with nervous energy. "What do our networks say?" "They say there is a human on your planet who moves like physics does not apply to him, who appears and disappears without using any technology we can detect, who defeats our soldiers without weapons we can identify. They say this human is teaching others to do impossible things." Korthvik had heard whispers of such stories, but he had dismissed them as scared soldiers making excuses for their failures. Surely these are just exaggerated reports from frightened troops. "We are sending you resources to deal with this problem," the voice continued. "Deathbringer Sekthar arrives tomorrow with a specialized task force. You will give him everything he needs. This situation will be resolved before it spreads to other worlds." The communication ended without ceremony. Korthvik sat in silence, processing what he had just learned. The galactic hegemony did not send Deathbringers unless they faced something truly dangerous. Sekthar had never failed to eliminate a target in 200 years of service. What exactly was happening on this conquered world? Deathbringer Sekthar studied the tactical reports during his journey to Earth. The data made little sense. Security. Cameras showed blurred images of a human male, but never a clear view. Patrol teams reported equipment malfunctions at precisely the wrong moments. Facilities with perfect security records suddenly experienced total system failures. Sekthar had hunted many dangerous species across the galaxy. He understood how different types of beings fought and hid. But this pattern was unlike anything. In his experience, it was as if someone was rewriting the rules of engagement in real time. The Deathbringer's ship carried 50 of the finest Korthik warriors, equipped with weapons that could cut through starship hulls. They also brought Vex tracking units that could follow a scent across continents, and gel-scanning devices that could detect heartbeats through solid rock dot. If there was a dangerous human on Earth, they would find him and eliminate him within days. Doctor. Young Sikh had been studying physics at Seoul University when the war started. Now he worked in the alien factories during the day and conducted secret research at night. The package that arrived at his hidden laboratory changed everything he thought he knew about the universe. Inside were detailed measurements and calculations that someone had made while observing the mysterious incidents around the city. Speed. Calculations that showed a human moving faster than physics should allow. Force measurements that indicated impossible strength. Energy readings that suggested someone was manipulating fundamental forces without any visible technology. Young Sikh. Read through the data 3 times before accepting what it meant. Someone was breaking the laws of physics, but not through alien technology or mysterious powers. The calculations showed something far more incredible. They showed a human being who had somehow learned to exceed the normal limits of biology and physics through pure adaptation, like a person who had evolved beyond what humans were supposed to be capable of becoming. The package included a simple note: "These abilities are not magic. They can be learned. The future depends on understanding." How? Young Sikh spent the next 3 days checking and rechecking the calculations. Everything was accurate. Someone had documented the impossible and proven that it was real. Commander, Yunji had been coordinating resistance cells across Asia when the first reports started arriving. Stories of impossible rescues, mysterious supply deliveries, and alien patrols found unconscious with no memory of what had attacked them. At first, she thought different cells were exaggerating their successes. Then she realized all the stories had the same pattern. Someone was helping every resistance group simultaneously, providing exactly what they needed when they needed it most. The coordination required for such operations was beyond anything Yunji had thought possible. Whoever was behind this understood military strategy better than the best human generals. They could predict alien movements, identify weaknesses, and exploit opportunities with perfect timing. Yunji began collecting all the reports and looking for patterns. What she found amazed her. The mysterious helper was not just conducting random attacks. Every action was part of a larger strategy designed to weaken alien control and strengthen human resistance. It was like watching a master chess player making moves that would not make sense until many turns later. 3 days before Deathbringer Sekthar arrived on Earth, Haiyan Wu made his first public appearance. The aliens had gathered 500 humans in the main square for what they called the compliance demonstration. Anyone who disobeyed orders would be executed in front of the crowd. It was designed to break the growing spirit of resistance that was spreading through the city. Elder Korthvik stood on a platform overlooking the square, surrounded by heavily armed guards. Behind him, a massive screen showed images of humans who had been caught helping the resistance. The message was clear. Cooperation would be rewarded, but defiance would bring death. The demonstration began with the execution of 3 humans who had been caught distributing food to families in hiding. The alien weapons turned them to ash. In seconds, the crowd watched in silent horror. This is what happens to those who refuse to accept their place in the new order, Korthvik announced through speakers that carried his voice across the square. Humanity's time as an independent species is over. You exist now only to serve the galactic hegemony. That was when Haiyan Wu stepped out of the crowd. He walked calmly toward the platform, moving through the packed humans like they were not there. The alien guards noticed him immediately and raised their weapons. But when they tried to fire, nothing happened. Their weapons simply would not work. Haiyan Wu reached the base of the platform and looked up at Elder Korthvik. The alien leader felt his breath catch in his throat. There was something in the human's eyes that made him take a step backward. "You made a mistake," Haiyan Wu said in a voice that somehow carried to every corner of the square without amplification. "You thought winning a war was the same as defeating a people. You thought surrender was the same as submission." He placed his hand on the platform's support beam. The metal, which was stronger than anything humans had ever created, began to crack. "You never understood what humans really are," Haiyan Wu continued. "We are not just another species with fixed abilities and limitations. We are adaptation itself, and we have been adapting to you." A platform began to collapse. Elder Korthvik and his guards fell to the ground as the structure crumbled beneath them. But instead of being crushed, they found themselves gently lowered to the pavement, unharmed but completely helpless. Haiyan Wu looked at the crowd of humans who were staring at him in amazement. "The war is not over," he told them. "It is just beginning. And this time, we know what we are fighting for. Security." Forces surrounded the square within minutes. Hundreds of alien soldiers, armed with their most powerful weapons, created an unbreakable perimeter. Above them, attack ships moved into position. But when they looked for the human who had destroyed their demonstration, he was nowhere to be found. The crowd of humans remained, but the person who had spoken to them had vanished like he had never been there. Elder Korthvik ordered a complete search of the city. Every building was examined. Every tunnel was explored. Every hiding place was investigated. They found nothing. That night, Deathbringer Sekthar's ship entered Earth's atmosphere. The most feared hunter in the galaxy had come to eliminate a target that was becoming more dangerous with each passing day. But Haiyan Wu was ready for him. For months, he had been preparing for this moment. The real fight was about to begin. All across the city, humans who had witnessed the demonstration in the square began to whisper among themselves. Something had changed. Someone had stood up to the aliens and made them look weak and frightened. The resistance cells received new messages that night. Detailed plans for coordinated attacks. Instructions for more daring rescues. Information about alien weaknesses that could be exploited. But most importantly, they received a promise. You are not alone. You have never been alone. Together, we will show the galaxy what humans can become. In the underground tunnels, Captain Minsu gathered his fighters and began planning operations that would have been impossible just days before. In her laboratory, Dr. Sojin worked to understand alien biology in ways that could save human lives. In his hidden workshop, Dr. Young-Sik studied the physics of human potential. And somewhere in the city, Ji-Hai told her brother about the man who had saved her from the Vex soldiers. The man who moved like the laws of physics were just suggestions. Deathbringer Sekthar had expected to find his target within hours of arrival. Instead, he found something that challenged everything he understood about hunting dangerous prey. The human called Haiyan Wu was not hiding. He was not running. He was not even trying to avoid detection. According to reports from across the city, he appeared wherever he was needed, helped whoever required assistance, and then vanished before any response could be organized. This was not the behavior of someone being hunted. This was the behavior of someone who considered the hunters to be merely an inconvenience. Sekthar set up his base of operations in the strongest building the aliens controlled. His 50 warriors took positions throughout the city. Vex tracking units spread their sensors across every district. The Zhao scanning devices monitored all forms of energy and movement. Within 6 hours of deployment, they had their first encounter with the target. A team of Korthik soldiers had cornered a group of human resistance fighters in an old subway station. The humans were trapped with no way to escape. The aliens prepared to capture them for interrogation when the lights went out. Emergency lighting activated automatically, but the tunnels remained strangely dim. The Korthik soldiers activated their night vision equipment and continued their advance. That was when they heard the voice. "You should not have come here," Haiyan Wu said from somewhere in the darkness. His words seemed to come from every direction at once. The soldiers raised their weapons and searched for a target. Their equipment showed no life signs except for the trapped humans. But the voice had been real. Someone was in the tunnels with them. "Show yourself, human," the squad leader demanded. "You are surrounded. Surrender now, and your death will be quick." Laughter echoed through the tunnels. Not cruel laughter, but the gentle amusement of someone who found the situation mildly entertaining. "I am not surrounded," Haiyan Wu replied. "You are." The first soldier collapsed without making a sound. His weapon clattered to the ground, but his body made no noise as it fell. The other soldiers spun around, but saw nothing except empty tunnel. One by one, the remaining soldiers fell. Some tried to fire their weapons, but the energy beams passed through empty air. Others attempted to call for backup, but their communication devices produced only silence. Within minutes, all 12 Korthak soldiers lay unconscious on the tunnel floor. The human resistance fighters found themselves free to escape, though they never saw who had saved them. The only evidence of their rescuer was a simple message written on the tunnel wall. "Tell Sekthar that hunting requires patience. I will teach him what that means." When Deathbringer Sekthar examined the unconscious soldiers, he found something that made his blood run cold. Each warrior had been rendered helpless through precise pressure applied to specific nerve points. But the technique used was not from any known human martial art. It was a Korthic technique that only the most elite warriors knew. Someone had learned their own fighting methods and used them with perfect skill. Dr. Young Sik made his breakthrough while studying the energy readings from Haiyan Wu's latest appearance. The measurements showed something impossible, but the mathematics were undeniable. The mysterious human was not violating the laws of physics. He was operating at the absolute maximum limits of what those laws allowed. Every movement, every action, every seemingly impossible feat could be explained by perfect efficiency and adaptation. Young Sik compared the readings to baseline human capabilities. The difference was like comparing a simple calculator to the most advanced computer ever built. Both operated on the same basic principles, but one had evolved far beyond the other's limitations. The implications were staggering. If one human could reach such levels of development, then theoretically, all humans could learn to do the same. The package of research data made sense now. Someone was trying to teach humanity how to transcend its assumed limitations. Young Sik began working on training protocols based on the energy patterns he had observed. If his calculations were correct, other humans could learn to develop similar abilities through focused practice and understanding. He started with the resistance fighters in Minsu's cell. Minsu was skeptical when Young Sik approached him with theories about human potential and advanced training methods. But the physicist had helped the resistance before, and his information had always been accurate. The training sessions began in the deep tunnels where alien sensors could not reach. Young Sik taught the fighters breathing techniques that improved their oxygen efficiency. He showed them meditation methods that enhanced their reaction times. He explained how proper focus could allow them to perceive details they had never noticed before. At first, the improvements were small. Fighters could move more quietly, react more quickly, and stay alert for longer periods. But after weeks of practice, more dramatic changes began to appear. Ji Hai was the first to demonstrate truly unusual abilities. During a training exercise, she walked through a solid concrete wall as if it were made of mist. Young Sik's instruments recorded the event, but no one could explain how it was possible. Other fighters began showing enhanced strength, speed, and awareness. Not supernatural powers, but capabilities that pushed the boundaries of what human bodies should be able to achieve. The resistance was evolving, and they were learning from the best teacher possible. Haiyan Wu appeared to different people across the city, always when they needed guidance most. He taught Taeho how to coordinate multiple resistance cells without using communications that aliens could intercept. He showed Sojin advanced techniques for disrupting alien biology that she could never have discovered alone. But his most important lessons were about the nature of human potential itself. You think in terms of what humans cannot do, he told Commander Yoon-ji during one of their secret meetings. The aliens think the same way. They see limitations where none truly exist. Yoon-ji studied the man who had become the symbol of human resistance. He looked ordinary in every way, but there was something in his presence that made the air itself seem different. "How is this possible?" she asked. "How did you learn to do things that should be impossible?" Haiyan Wu smiled. "I learned to stop accepting that they were impossible. Every species in the galaxy has evolved to fit specific niches with specific capabilities. But humans evolved to adapt to any niche, to develop any capability needed for survival." He gestured toward the city. Around them, the aliens defeated our technology and our armies. But they never understood what they were really fighting. They saw us as just another limited species. But limitation is not what we are. "Then what are we?" Yoon-ji asked. "We are possibility itself," Haiyan Wu replied. "And possibility has no upper boundary." 3 weeks after arriving on Earth, Deathbringer Sekthar finally cornered his target in the ruins of an old shopping center. His entire task force surrounded the building. Vex sensors confirmed that the human was inside with no way to escape. Sekthar entered the building alone, carrying weapons that could destroy armored vehicles. He had hunted the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy, and none had ever escaped him once he found their location. The shopping center was dark and filled with debris from the war. Sekthar's S-armor provided perfect night vision and threat detection. His weapons were charged and ready. Every entrance and exit was monitored by his forces outside. He found Haiyan Wu sitting calmly on a broken bench in what had once been the food court. "You are difficult to find," Sekthar said, raising his primary weapon. "But the hunt is over." Haiyan Wu looked up at the towering alien warrior. "You misunderstand the situation. You were never hunting me. I have been teaching you." "Teaching? Me what?" Sekthar demanded. "That your assumptions about human capabilities are wrong. That your weapons and tactics are based on fighting predictable enemies. That you have never encountered a species that can grow beyond its apparent limitations." The Deathbringer fired his weapon. The energy beam that could melt starship hulls passed through the space where Haiyan Wu had been sitting. But the human was no longer there. "You move well for someone so large," Haiyan Wu said from behind Sekthar. "But you move exactly as your training taught you. Very predictable." Sekthar spun around and fired again, and again. Each shot was perfectly aimed, but Haiyan Wu was always somewhere else. Not hiding, not running, just standing in places where the weapons were not pointed. "This is impossible," Sekthar growled. "No organic being can move that fast." "I am not moving fast," Haiyan Wu explained patiently. "I am moving efficiently. When you understand the pattern of your opponent's actions, avoiding them becomes simple." The Deathbringer abandoned his ranged weapons and drew his combat blades. He was a master of close combat who had defeated enemies twice his size. No human could match Korthik's strength and skill in hand-to-hand fighting. The battle lasted exactly 30 seconds. When it ended, Sekthar lay on the ground, completely unharmed but unable to move. Haiyan Wu had used the alien's own combat techniques against him, applying pressure to nerve points that Sekthar had not even known existed on his own body. "Your forces outside are also unconscious," Haiyan Wu said calmly. "They will wake up in a few hours with no memory of how they were defeated. You will remember everything, because you need to deliver a message." Sekthar could not speak, but his eyes showed he was listening. The message from Deathbringer Sekthar reached the Galactic Hegemony's highest council within hours of his defeat. The most feared hunter in the galaxy, humiliated by a single human using techniques that should not have been possible. The council convened an emergency session. Representatives from hundreds of worlds gathered virtually to discuss what they were calling the Earth problem. The debate lasted for days, but the conclusion was unanimous. Earth would be destroyed. The order went out immediately. A fleet capable of cracking planets was assembled and sent toward the small blue world that had become a threat to galactic stability. No chances would be taken. No quarter would be given. Humanity would be eliminated completely before whatever was happening on Earth could spread to other worlds. The fleet consisted of 12 dreadnought ships, each one larger than Earth's largest cities. Their weapons could shatter continents and boil oceans. When they fired together, they could split a planet in half. The armada would arrive in 3 days. After that, there would be no more humans anywhere in the universe. Elder Korthvik received the news with mixed emotions. Part of him was relieved that the impossible situation on Earth would finally be resolved. But another part wondered if they were making a terrible mistake by choosing destruction over understanding. He had been studying reports of the enhanced humans that were appearing throughout his territory. resistance fighters who could move through solid walls, scientists who could disrupt alien technology with their bare hands, ordinary civilians who demonstrated strength and speed that defied biological limits. The changes were spreading. Whatever Haiyan Wu had started was teaching others to transcend their apparent limitations. If the reports were accurate, humanity was evolving in real time. Korthvik looked down at Earth from his command ship and wondered what they had truly conquered. Had they defeated a primitive species, or had they accidentally triggered something far more dangerous? The humans below seemed to sense that something was coming. Resistance activity increased dramatically. Enhanced humans appeared in every major city, demonstrating abilities that terrified alien forces. The organized uprising was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. It was not just a rebellion. It was a transformation. Dr. Young Seek's training centers operated openly now across the planet. Thousands of humans came to learn the techniques that could unlock their hidden potential. The results varied from person to person, but every student showed some level of enhancement. Some learned to perceive electromagnetic fields and could disrupt alien electronics by touch. Others developed perfect balance and coordination that allowed them to move through any environment. A few demonstrated the ability to process information at incredible speeds, making tactical decisions faster than any computer. But the most remarkable students were those who learned to adapt their abilities in real time. Like Heng Wu, they could analyze any situation and develop the exact capabilities needed to handle it. Young Seek documented everything he observed. The physics made sense once he understood the principles involved. Humans were not violating natural laws. They were operating at the theoretical maximum efficiency that those laws allowed. "We are not becoming superhuman," he explained to a gathering of resistance leaders. "We are becoming fully human for the first time. Every other species evolved specific adaptations for specific environments. We evolved the ability to adapt to anything." Commander Yunji coordinated the global resistance network from her command center in underground Seoul. Reports flowed in from every continent. Enhanced humans were appearing everywhere, working together with a coordination that amazed there. Alien occupiers. In Africa, resistance fighters were melting Vex equipment by manipulating heat energy with their hands. In Europe, enhanced humans were walking through gel crystal barriers as if they were made of air. In the Americas, humans were demonstrating reaction times that made Korthik warriors look slow and clumsy. The aliens were losing control of Earth, but that was not the most important development. The most important thing was what the enhanced humans were learning about themselves. "We are not just individuals with special abilities," Hunji told her assembled commanders. "We are becoming a new kind of species, one that can grow beyond any limitation through understanding and will." The reports from other worlds were already arriving. Humans living in alien colonies throughout the galaxy were beginning to demonstrate similar enhancements. The change was not limited to Earth. It was spreading wherever humans existed. Tae-ho led a strike force of 50 enhanced humans against the largest alien command facility on the continent. They moved through the building like ghosts, disabling security systems and neutralizing guards without causing any permanent harm. The aliens had built their defenses based on known human capabilities, but the humans attacking them operated far beyond those assumed limits. They moved through solid barriers, communicated without using any detectable technology, and coordinated their actions with perfect precision. Within 2 hours, the facility was completely under human control. The alien commanders were captured but unharmed. Their equipment was studied and cataloged. Most importantly, their communication systems were used to send a message to the approaching fleet. The message was simple: "Turn back. You do not understand what you are about to face." The fleet ignored the warning and continued toward Earth. Haiyan Wu stood on the roof of the tallest building in Seoul and looked up at the stars. He could feel the approaching ships like a pressure in the air. 12 dreadnoughts carrying enough firepower to destroy a world dot around him. Thousands of enhanced humans gathered in the city below. Some had developed their abilities over weeks of training. Others had learned to transcend their limitations in just days. All of them looked to him for guidance about what came next. "Are we ready?" Ji-hai asked. She could walk through solid matter now and move faster than sound when necessary. But even with her new abilities, the idea of facing planet-killer ships seemed impossible. Haiyan-Wu smiled. "The question is not whether we are ready. The question is whether they are ready for us." He gestured toward the sky where the alien fleet was approaching. They built those ships to fight enemies who have fixed capabilities and predictable limitations. They have never encountered a species that can grow beyond any challenge. Dr. So-jin approached the group, carrying a device she had built using alien technology and human innovation. "The genetic analysis is complete," she reported. "Every human on Earth is showing signs of accelerated development. We are not just learning new abilities, we are evolving." "How is that possible?" someone asked. "Because evolution is not just about biological changes over generations," So-jin explained. "For humans, evolution can happen within a single lifetime through learning and adaptation. What Haiyan-Wu discovered is that our potential has no upper limit." The alien fleet entered Earth's orbit 6 hours later. Their sensors detected massive energy signatures across the planet's surface. Whatever was happening below defied their understanding of human technology. The fleet commander ordered immediate bombardment. The planet-cracking weapons charged to full power and prepared to fire. That was when the humans struck back. They did not use spaceships or missiles or any weapons the aliens could understand. Instead, 10,000 enhanced humans simply focused their will on the alien fleet above them. Young Seek had discovered that human consciousness could directly influence quantum fields when operating at maximum efficiency. Haiyan-Wu had learned to apply this principle on a massive scale. Now, thousands of humans working together could affect reality itself at the molecular level. The alien ships began to malfunction, not from any external attack, but from internal system failures that made no sense. Computer networks crashed. Weapon systems shut down. Life support systems continued working perfectly, but everything designed for warfare simply stopped functioning. Within minutes, the entire fleet was helpless. 12 dreadnoughts floated in space like expensive decorations, completely unable to fulfill their mission. The fleet commander tried to send distress signals, but discovered that his communication systems would only transmit one message: "We surrender. Please teach us what we failed to understand." Haiyan-Wu appeared on the bridge of the flagship without using any visible technology. He simply stepped out of empty air, as if distance meant nothing to him. "Your weapons cannot destroy a species that transcends the limitations you think define all life," he told the terrified commander. "Your fleets cannot conquer a people who can adapt to any challenge you present." The alien officer stared at the human who had somehow traveled instantly across thousands of miles of space. "What are you?" "I am what humans become when they stop accepting artificial limits," Haiyan-Wu replied. "And I am just the beginning." He gestured toward Earth below them, where the planet's surface glowed with energy signatures that their instruments could not explain. "My people are learning that the only limitations that exist are the ones we choose to accept. We are becoming something your galaxy has never seen before." The commander's fear was mixed with curiosity. "What happens now?" "Now you have a choice," Haiyan-Wu said. "You can try to continue fighting a war against an enemy that grows stronger with every challenge you present. Or you can learn from us how to transcend